We're back. We're back. We have Darrel Carey here, community activist, friend, cousin, and I tell everybody this, and it's nothing that I won't say offline or online, that this politics, he introduced me to it. Sometimes I wish he didn't. He taught me the game. He taught me the game. And we're here today to talk to him about the game of coal that I know nothing about. Daryl called me and said, Ken, it's about, about the coal. And I said, what about coal? And I heard about it at the council meetings. I heard controversy. I heard people that like it. I heard people that don't. And, it's wrapped around the Army base. It's wrapped around a developer, Phil Tagami, CCIG, Omar Benjamin, which was the old port director. So much controversy, so much positive. This energy is going to be out there. Daryl's here tonight to explain to us so we know the truth. So we want to hear exactly your viewpoint, Daryl. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to open it up to you, unless you want to say something out of that. Me and Phil are always on a different side sometimes, but you need those type of elements to move over. But you can't give a man a lease to something in a company and tell them what they can't do.
Right.
I mean, that right there, if you give me a lease and give me control of something, if I'm not pulling in anything hazardous materials like nuclear waste or something, you can't tell me what to do with the land you gave me all
Right.
the rights to. So Daryl, talk to us about this coal, because I saw it in the paper, I saw it in the news, I heard about it at the budget. Olive was like, Ken, I didn't know coal was this popular, except for the barbecue pit.
No. That's what I had originally thought too.
So talk to us, cousin.
All right. First, for the last 24 years, I have worked in Oakland.
Yeah.
I have born and raised here. My great-grandmother came to Oakland in 1903. My grandfather was born here. My mother was born here, where she met my father, where I thought she saw him coming. A boy from Louisiana, she must have saw him coming. And
She got him too.
Got him. And so I've been blessed to have worked for people like OCL as their chief organizer, Oakland Community Organizations, which is a faith-based organization of churches. And I put the black in the organization because before it was primarily perceived as a white Catholic organization. So Axel Gospel, Love Center, and all, I brought them in and they came in, and boy, I had the crew. I mean, I had the crew. And I had went to New Orleans to intern, came back, and we were having citywide actions in Brick's Gymnasium. And I don't know where I got this thought. I said, next year we're going to the convention center. And we packed it out.
Did you?
The fire marshal said, there's too many in here. And that's where Elihu and I became friends, because he said, whoever put this on, I need to meet. He was the mayor at the time. And so things started from there. And so I went to PG&E, I was chief of staff of the Oakland City Council, worked for the Secretary of State. God's been good to me.
And you know what? He's been good to you, and you passed a lot of that information on to me, cousin, and I really appreciate it. I really do.
Coal is one of our largest natural resources that we use to generate our energy. TVs, when you turn them on, coal. When you're hot and you want to be cool, your air conditioning, coal. When it's too cold and you want to be warmed up, coal. When you think about your refrigerator, it's plugged into the wall, coal. Computer, booting up, charging your cell phones, everything. It is the cheapest, most affordable way to generate our grid in which we receive power from, in which PG&E and all the other utility providers, they use about 40% coal in their mixture of how they design our energy. And so there's an opportunity to export coal from Americas, from Utah, by rail into Oakland, and then overseas to developing nations.
You know what? Olive said something real important before you got here, Daryl. She said, what's the problem if they have it on the train and it's covered I mean, what's the big
Well.
issue? And let me tell you what I thought. You know, Oakland is hot right now. I just said it. We won the Warriors game. We hot. Everybody want to move.
After 40 years
Yeah.
of them, to wait on them to do their jobs.
I told you it's gonna get live, y'all. So if we're hot right now, I don't want Oakland, Daryl, to become a platform where everybody think they can come in here and stand and make it about Oakland. But if they want it to be bigger than Oakland, make it bigger than Oakland. Don't try to use our city as a platform to try to stop some coal. That's what I'm thinking.
Well,
Talk
let me
to
say, I believe in the Sierra Club and what their overall mission is. I do believe that we have to some kind of way stop and slow down global warming. I'm with all of that. But here it is, the neighborhood that we grew up in.
Right.
Think about this. There were plating companies that we never knew that were there. Those signs all
I
back on.
wonder what that smell was. You remember that smell
Yeah.
like rotten eggs?
Yeah, but back on Pippin and on Pier Main, you know, there are plating companies that when you mix water with sulfuric acid, it develops itself into a vaporized plume, and that plume will snatch your lung out of your chest. It's just like vinyl chloride, which is the carcinogen. And so when you have these things in your neighborhood, in the midst of it, and you know what my dad's house was.
I do, like that
We
one.
lived on San Leandro Street and Apple. You had a tunnel, a busy street, a railway,
Railway.
and BART.
And
And the only thing I can remember as a child growing up was pictures falling off the wall because the train,
train was passing
or BART was passing by and the house was
Hey,
just
I think
shaking.
we need some restoration or some kind of money. I got sleep deprivation from that.
I mean,
I'm not lying.
Is that what it is?
That's what it is.
But it became part of our thing, and then after a while, you just don't even hear it
No.
anymore.
No.
But it's right there. To get to the school across all of those things, I didn't know how many dangers that we were facing on a day-to-day basis. But coal, we're the only ones. Coal, they're trying to bring in state-of-the-art rail cars,
Good.
in which they're covered, and then there's a terminal in which they would have that would store the coal for maybe 2 or 3 days at max. That would take the coal that had been railed in, the machine would turn it upside down and put it into an environmentally contained storage. So it never gets into the air. And this would mean Oakland would be the first in the nation to have this type of process.
That type of technology.
That
You
type
know
of
what?
technology.
We're so glad you're
See.
here, because you know what, the people, we spend a lot of time during budget at City Hall, and we heard so much about coal, and I was keep asking,
Kim, what's coal? What about
What
this
is
coal?
How about this here? When you have a water filtration system on top of your sink, filter the water, guess what? That's coal. It's coal-based. Think about the wastewater treatment in which minorities have lived around the East Bay mud wastewater treatment for years. If they didn't have coal in it, can you imagine, filtering it, how it would smell that when you come across that MacArthur ramp and you see East Bay mud
No, right
there?
there. You can.
Oh, that smell. If you didn't have coal, it's coal-based.
So Daryl, what's the issue, man? Are people trying to stop it because they just want to stop it or something to stand on?
Can I get raw?
And this is what I'm saying. This is what we do here. We get raw. Because let me tell you, hey man, we don't expect any less from DC.
No.
So
This
what's the issue,
is about
D?
the new population gentrification coming into West Oakland, taking over West Oakland, and coming with their own premise of behavior. They say that this is bad. So I'm like, well, wait a minute, how many of y'all gonna hire a brother or a sister to come out here and work with you Sierra Club types? Don't see too many, do you? Huh? But what has happened over the years, and you know it, is that the black man has built highways and roadways and worked for free and picked people's cotton and everything, and we're the only immigrants that were brought here. We're the only ones. Everybody else came here on their own. They wanted a piece of America. And the Negroes were brought here in the hulls of ships. I can just imagine that a ship pulled up on the west side of Africa and said, how many of you want a free cruise? And everybody raised their hand. Yes,
I
sir.
went down to West Oakland over the weekend, and they were talking about that it was some jobs that was promised, but they're not gonna get these jobs. Can you tell me a little bit about jobs that the coal industry, whoever's bringing in the coal is promising jobs? Or what about the jobs?
Well, first of all, Jerry Bridges is the former director of maritime
Right.
of the Port of Oakland, and
Right.
he ended up becoming the executive director.
I read
He
an
is
article.
leading this effort. And Omar Benjamin, who was the director of real estate for the Port of Oakland,
I know.
who then subsequently ended up being executive director as well.
I know
of the-
Omar.
So they both, and so these two gentlemen have the opportunity to build a state-of-the-art facility and to make some money and to put people to work in West Oakland. Can you imagine the loss of contracts as it would go for building such a facility of this type, and then the long-term jobs? Now, I have had the pleasure and some of the unpleasure of forcing people or trying to make them understand the importance of local hiring.
Right.
Because it goes toward the principle of sustainability, that if we're going to have a great economy and that everybody would be blessed, all of our brothers and sisters that would be blessed, no matter what your gender or your race is,
Right.
to have the opportunity to make it in this economy in which we're hearing that everybody's growing except for the middle class. So when we look at prevailing wage jobs and things of that nature, this would be created there.
Okay.
And you know that I have worked with people like Tom Henderson, who owns the Tribune Building, and then he owns several other, and he has held his word. He said that my job is to create 2,000 new jobs for Oakland. And he's on his way in doing that. And he has lived up to his word.
Who's that?
Tom Henderson, who is an Oakland native, who worked at the same doggy diner that you and our cousin Darrel Carey worked
Right.
at. I mean, so he's an Oakland native. He believes in what he's trying to do. I believe in him because he kept his word. I've had so many people who have not kept their words, and how many fights that I had to get into to get our Latin brothers, our black brothers, our Asian brothers equal access to these jobs.
You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna go to a break, but Olive, you got a question. You give him a question.
I don't have a question, but my question, he answered. My question was more about people should be concerned about their health because they're fighting because of asthma, because of cancer. But then me and you discussed earlier that if the coal comes covered, if it comes in the containers that, the dust doesn't get in the air, then
What's the concern?
what's the concern?
You know, my older brother, who's no longer with us, he had asthma growing up as a kid. And boy, I was so scared. I used to see him and my mother had to try to get him air. But he had a bad case of asthma growing up. He grew out of it. I had asthma, and I had the little inhaler as a kid, and everything else, because we lived across the street. I mean, we had Fleischman's Yeast, we had Granny Goose, we had the Acorn Factory, we had the railway, we had BART, and everything else, and we knew nothing of these environmental impacts. I think that when people want to come to your city and mitigate those impacts with state-of-the-art equipment, I think that we should not shun them away because what is where we live? We are Americans. We crack, we frack, and we drill, baby, drill.
We do.
That's what we do.
So Oakland, I want to get something right so the viewers know. Oh, this is going to be the first state-of-the-art terminal in the United States.
Yeah.
In Oakland.
The rail cars are flipped into an environmentally sound storage facility, so it never hits the air.
So yes, see, this is what I'm okay. So if that's the case, and it's what I said from the beginning, is this about Oakland or is this about bigger than Oakland? Are they trying to make it about Oakland, but they're trying to make a point? Because what?
How about this here?
Tell me. 'Cause
There's two
this is
black
what-
men who are leading this. Can you imagine? Now let your mind do the walking. That, two black men that's willing to spend $56 million to put a state-of-the-art, environmentally sound storage and transport system in place who are more than experienced in in moving commodities.
In the process.
In the process. I mean, they've run Oakland's port, which is the 5th largest port in the nation. And so at the end of the day, what is it really about?
That's what I'm saying.
I'm trying to figure that one out too.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go on break, we're gonna come back, cause this is getting interesting, and, I learned some stuff, Olive. What about you?
Well, you taught me a lot of during the week. We were crossing the street. I looked up. I said, I don't really understand coal. You said, you see those pipelines right there?
The wires. Yeah,
Wires.
for the, PG&E Electric, I said they're generating a certain amount. He just said it. They're
Yep.
generated a certain amount for energy. So
Right.
let's go on this
So
break.
we'll
We'll
be
be
back.
right back.
Here to speak against coal trains in Oakland. Coal is the dirtiest fossil fuel on this planet, and we will not allow the city of Oakland to be a vehicle for further endangering the health of the residents of West Oakland and beyond, or enabling a very few to profit at the expense of the health of this entire planet. Climate change is real, and we're living in it now. We are in the midst of a mass extinction, the last one being when the dinosaurs went extinct 60 million years ago. And if that doesn't make us sit up and take notice, we can look at the drought that we're in and the rising sea levels. Oakland has a choice here. It can either choose to be on the side of the poor and vulnerable of this planet, as Pope Francis has so eloquently pointed out, or it can choose to allow this coal to go through Oakland, out the Army base, and further kill this beautiful earth that we live on.
Thank you so much.
One more thing. Oakland can say no,
Thank you, ma'am.
To
Your
this.
time has expired. Thank you so
and we
much.
won't allow this to happen.
Thank you so much.